Hey guys, I'm Anthony from Forever Entertainment. Tonight's show is a brand new show. It's called MK Invasion. If you like aliens, Bigfoot, conspiracy theories, MK Ultra, Project this and that, you're going to love this show. Tonight's host is Coley Weber, aka Coley UFO. She's joined by the incredible filmmaker Ernie Rivera from Gray Men. He's here tonight to talk about his film. This episode is all about alien contact. Have we been contacted? Let's find out. Coley knows better than I do. If you like this show, if you're happy with what we're doing, please go to YouTube, give us a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with your friends so they can check it out too. And that's pretty much it. I won't see you again until tomorrow night. Have fun. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the airing. This is season 1, episode 1, and you are watching MK Invasion. I'm your host, Coley Weber. Who am I? I host on SNX Radio. You can also find me on Truth Serum with Rob from Typical Skeptic Podcast. So yeah, I'm here tonight rocking it with the MK Invasion, Forever Entertainment. So if you have not yet, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. So yes, tonight we have some really exciting we have a really exciting guest, Ernie Rivera. So he's a filmmaker of Gray Man. So he's going to come on tonight and tell us all about it. We are talking ET contact. We are talking UFOs and all things above. So those are my favorite topics. So without further ado, let's welcome on Ernie. Ernie, hey.
Hey, what's up, Coley?
Yes, welcome.
Good to be on with you.
Absolutely. What an honor. So you got Gray Man going on. Can you tell everybody a little bit about that and what that's like? And you're a filmmaker.
Okay.
That's super exciting.
I'm so excited about this. So it was just within the last year I wrote this script called Citadel Lost. And Citadel Lost is kind of like this superhero deconstruction, but it's more like trying to see if there's anything left in a person worth saving, And I pivoted real quick right after I was finished writing Citadel Lost, entering in these competitions. I started writing Gray Men, and Gray Men I thought was this really interesting concept. It's kind of about aliens, but it's about aliens. It's about hoaxers. It's about wanting to be seen and all this crazy stuff in a social media age. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So I have it in a couple of competitions already. We've only heard back from the first two, but I can say that the first two were both grand prize wins.
That's awesome. So what
Yeah.
inspired you to do this? Like, it's a fascinating topic. You know, I would say like you just didn't stumble upon this accidentally, I'm assuming.
No way. Okay, so I grew up in the whole time of the X-Files and all this it was kind of like part of the culture at that point, right? And I got really into like not just obviously the X-Files, but these paranormal talk shows, and then like, Art Bell show. I got into a lot of movies about aliens, and my favorite ones weren't so much like the Independence Days. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but like I really liked movies like Fire in the Sky or Close Encounters. Like kind of this stuff where it's like you're terrified because it's living right on the edge of truth. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. So
Oh
you
yeah.
like more, you don't like the whole hoaxy kind of Hollywood type thing. You're talking more because those two movies that you mentioned, first of all, Travis Walton's, and then
Oh yeah.
yeah. So those are pretty close, I guess, to kind of what I would establish Contact to be like, are the furthest away from, like the big Hollywood screen and that like aspect of it. So yeah, go on. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I mean, like, okay, I love the Independence Days. I love the Mars attacks. I love the this and the that. But at the end of the day, I think like what really set me on fire was stuff like oh my God, the day the Earth stood still, for example. Like I saw that when I was like really young, and it was just like really amazing. Even the remake I thought was really quite brilliant. That like they show up not as this thing, but like as a messenger, here to deliver us something. And I thought that was very interesting.
So is that what you kind of think is going on, or have you, I guess, been on the opposite end of that message? Have they reached out and contacted Ernie at all, or is there anything you'd like to tell us about that?
All right. Okay, well, there's two things I would say, right? First of all, like close to 10 years ago or so, there was like a 2-year period in which I had like sleep paralysis. By the way, it stopped right after the final one. But I would encounter these things when like I couldn't move in like this kind of altered state, right? And it's a normal experience, sleep paralysis. A lot of people get it. But one night when I was having sleep paralysis, I did see like this alien being, right? And I woke up, I got out of it, and I thought to myself, if I fall asleep that night, it's going to happen again. Like I could feel it in my bones. And sure enough, it happened a second time that night. And this is where the story gets really weird and interesting, I think, right? But if you've ever had sleep paralysis, like you can't move, and just like these things are happening around you. And so desperately, I wanted to move, right? It's almost like, I can't exactly explain this, but like I almost like, if at least in my mind, I forced myself out of my body, and I was like able to like try to fight the thing off, which was like a really weird experience. But I mean, like I can't explain it to this day.
So where are you at? Like when this is happening, are you Ernie in bed? Are you Ernie on a
Yeah.
raft? Or okay.
Like I
You could
was,
hear
okay.
you could see the being in front of you in like your area, like your house, or were you in a different time and place?
No, I was in bed when I was woken up in the middle of this. And the weird part is that like, sleep paralysis, you think you're gonna like be stuck in there, but like what I experienced was like I kind of like leapt out, and I was looking around the room in in real time, which was very peculiar.
Yeah.
But I had one other experience ever, and this is something that like I didn't see exactly, but I did see it. But so my wife, she saw one day something flying around the sky. This peculiar craft flying around like nothing should be able to fly. She yells at me. She calls me into the room. We go look from the balcony, and sure enough, I see it too. And it's what you would expect to see if someone described seeing a UFO. Just the way it moved, its size, the luminosity. It wasn't like it was at a distance, but it was really interesting. And I'm like, okay, so we both saw it. So we're in the same boat.
Yeah, right. You're not crazy alone. You're gonna be crazy together. I get that. I get that more than you
How
gotta
about
appreciate those moments.
Oh, for sure. How about you, Coley? Would you say that you're a believer?
I 1000%. As my audience knows well, I guess now Forever Entertainment, MK Invasion will know. I was in 2017. I was out it was in the middle of kind of nowhere. It was between a place called Cascade, Iowa, and Bernard, Iowa, at St. Patrick's Church, and I was in the back. And to make a long story short, what came covering from 1 mile crept closer. They said it measured to be 30 feet away, 50 foot in diameter. And I stood face to face with something that was like so incredible that I was so shook. I dropped my camera. I did get pictures before. I didn't know what the hell to do. I was like, ooh, what do you do with this now? So from that point on, the MUFON came out, they investigated it. And I really thought that was probably the end deal. I thought maybe, hey, that was like a one-time fluke, but there was a really strong, like, I just remember saying to MUFON Dave Creeder, I was like, do you think I'll see another one? And he's, kind of like, yeah, but he had never experienced one. So fast forward, if you go to December of 2017, that's when I had my first, it wasn't necessarily sleep paralysis, but it was definitely something that shook my core. I can tell you that I encountered, yes, absolutely. I was one of those, like, the markings, and it continued. Like, there's a long story that goes with it, but absolutely. So I understand how terrifying that initial contact would be. I also was able, I guess the way I used to describe it is I could see myself. And so I kind of shot out of body too, but I could definitely see in the beings around me. And so then from that point on, it kind of evolved, and I came in contact with 3 different kinds, and here I am today. So I totally understand what you're saying. I definitely understand that.
Spectacular and fascinating. It's really interesting to hear. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What are your thoughts on like the whole ancient astronaut belief out there?
Can you what do you like in reference to
like the idea that we were maybe visited, in different times of human history, and that they may have like influenced our belief systems?
So this is my whole, and there are some rule. I know it doesn't seem like there would be rules to this, but I do believe that there are. I think, and what they've showed me, and this is the tall grays, like you say, like I asked how they experience like memories, how they experience, I was trying to become more of a conscious experiencer.
Mhm.
And so they took me and they recreated everything holographically. I do think that they can intervene, but I don't think that they can change our timeline necessarily. So as if they're kind of like going, a lot of people like, they time travelers, are they? No, I definitely think that they've been here. I think this is their architect that we live and most definitely exist upon. But as to like the, how many times or how often, there's definitely, I guess the more I got into this and down the rabbit hole, I started to see that it, just because, people are assuming, ET, they're all great. No, there's definitely something here that's not all great. You cannot assume something is just first and foremost, like all great and trust it. But I do think that there's something here that we're kind of intermingling with, maybe, so to speak, that is not so great. And that those nice ones that maybe our family or whatever elsewhere do come in and kind of help from time to time. Other than that, yeah, that's fascinating. How about you? What do you think on that topic?
Well, I think it's like really interesting, right? Because like if you look back at like old fairy stories, they're like so similar to what people express nowadays about like aliens. It's like, okay, they were small beings, They whisked me away, like to a different land. Sometimes they kept you, sometimes they didn't, and it's like there are just a lot of parallels when you look at the old stories. So I wonder how much of that is like us trying to just find the right words for what we're encountering. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I try and put some words to like what you saw or the being you saw. I mean, how isn't it kind of like I struggle sometimes? I'm like, this is like so amazing, and there's a whole experience that goes with it, a whole emotional aspect of it. And I don't know about your life, but from the moment that I encountered that, like I was a mental health therapist. I worked in my nice little cushy office,
Mhm.
for how many years? It changed my complete course of life. And I didn't even think that was ever possible. So it has to be something pretty, profound and powerful to do that.
I would absolutely say so. I mean, look, I don't know what's going on, but I mean, I think we have enough evidence to show that something is going on. Have you ever read Flatland or like saw like the movie based on it or anything like that?
No, I have not. No.
Okay, so check it out. It's a story about this square that lives on like a completely like flat universe, and one day like a sphere pops out and like pulls the square off of that flat universe and like shows the square what 3D world is like.
Yeah.
And then he puts him back into the flat universe, and he's like trying to explain to other people like what's going on. He's like, I don't know what happened. There was like an up. I don't know where it is. I can't explain it, but I think there was an up. I don't know.
Yeah, no, isn't that amazing though? And then too, how when you're saying that, I'm thinking this sounds like, but how do you go back to being that square, on a flat plane, like after you've seen the construct, after you've seen, that bird's eye view? That's the challenging part.
For sure. And it makes me think of like what I hear when people talk about it's like a little tangent, but like when people talk about like going out and doing these like ayahuasca trips, right?
Mhm.
And they talk about like everyone's got like the same hallucinations when they're on ayahuasca, when they all see like these machine elves.
Yeah. Oh, you know about the machine elves. Oh, this is getting
Yeah.
good. Okay, keep going.
And it's like you yeah, and it's just like so peculiar because it's like, yeah, you've experienced something that's beyond what we can normally experience, and now you're being forced back and trying to find words.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. See, I did it on ceremonies before, so we'll go there. Like I did the Bufo, the Cambo, like I've done like the DMT experiences. It goes hand in hand sometimes in this and finding answers. But you nailed it right there, because once that death of that ego happens and you go there, and this whole reality shatters around you, you're then when you come back, you're like, what now? Everything changes. Everything changes. I mean, I didn't take everything so as serious as I once did. Like, maybe in some aspects, I'm like, this is like such a human experience, and I'm, like I just had all these like profound like things happen. But you're right. How do you? And people would ask, well, what's that like? And I said, well,
There was yeah, no, there was what's interesting that I think is interesting, right? That when people think about aliens, right, they always got these images in their head, almost like Star Trek, where it's like everything's like humanoid and we like look roughly the same and we communicate roughly the same. But then like I think about like if you've ever come across like the Enders series, it's like a sci-fi series, and basically like he encounters a couple of different species like for the first time. Like like humans made contact with two species for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And both of them have like completely alien ways of communicating. I mean, like completely alien ways. So it's like war happens because we can't even figure out how to make words at each other.
Isn't so true? And people automatically, I assume, like, that's telepathic, like they're like, Oh, I'm like, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. A lot of times it's projecting pictures. It's a universal language. There's, the universal law that all comes into place with all of this. It is, but just to know, it's kind of unsettling that you don't really have any thoughts that you can kind of keep all to yourself. It's like,
Yeah.
all those things that's like that fishbowl that you're living in just kind of intensifies just a little bit. But, I'm not exactly sure. So did you experience anything? I guess, what were the changes that happened after you had your sleep paralysis and you encountered beings? Did you have any like profound like revelations? I know some people have like, they're able to all sorts of, I guess, different things. Did you have anything that changed for you in your life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And to be honest, I don't know if I've ever thought about it in that way. Like I think it's kind of affected me in a major way. But like to say that like, am I more this or more that? I don't know. But it was very intense experience. And like I said, like I had sleep paralysis going on for like 2 years until like basically like that last one. And then I'm like, okay, and now it's over. And I'm like, oh, that was peculiar.
So how many times do you remember encountering different beings that were not from this planet?
I mean, like again, this is like all through like sleep paralysis, but like basically like there were like I don't know, like 10 or so times over 2 years. And it was wild. Yeah.
Can you describe what kind of beings that you came in contact with? Are you comfortable doing that? I can tell the shift that you have, Ernie. Like I really, you're being so authentic and genuine here. I really appreciate that. Like,
I mean, well, yeah, thank you. I'm just talking. But yeah, it's like, let me think back on that, because it's like, again, in the sleep paralysis state, like sometimes they look like people, sometimes they didn't. But have you ever heard? Okay, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole, right? But have you ever heard of like there's this like urban legend about this dude named like Cold or something like that, or like sometimes called like the Smiling Man, where he has like the big grotesque
Slender
smile.
Man.
Well, he's got like the big grotesque smile, right? Like just like forced. And one night, and again, this is like during the time when I was having like sleep paralysis over that period of time. Like I'm sleeping. I swear to you, I feel something kick me in the feet, right? Like I wake up and this being is like on top of me. And it was like, it's just like so wild. And again, like it wears off, but I mean, like it's a really intense experience.
Oh yeah. It shakes your core.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I was thinking more about gray men right now, right? And I was thinking about how I didn't like necessarily present them like typical aliens, but like they come in the form of TV executives in my script, and with abilities, but they come to basically tap a champion, or else like basically us as a species, we're going to get canceled. And that's like,
so we need to make some changes is kind of like where it's going. Otherwise humanity's done.
Yeah. Like just this idea of bottlenecking, like they say that like if we get like X far along, there are things that we have to face, like, AI, for example, or figuring out how to become a multi-planetary species, so that like if a comet hits us, we don't have to start over from the beginning. And there are these challenges. There are these times where we kind of like come to a bottleneck and we're forced to like either evolve or perish. And that's kind of like what I was trying to go for with Gray Men.
So
oh, sorry.
I know who that is. Yeah, that's funny. I'll explain. That's a funny story. So basically, what in the course of Gray Man, what does humanity like? Where are we coming? You got uh script writers who are coming, and they're the aliens, right? And humanity, what big, I guess, obstacles are we bottlenecked on? Like, where is humanity like struggling here? Because I feel like we really definitely are.
Well, I in the script, it's kind of like a personal evolution and also like kind of a global one, right? And I show the personal evolution through the development of the characters and how they need to basically step up their own lives in order to really do something in this world. But I also do it on a more global scale, and we kind of get into like this this kind of like Cold War throwback, which is like, very familiar to like all these alien stories, where basically Eastern Europe, because it actually sorry, I was just trying to set this up, but there was a real story, and this plays a part in the script, but there was this real story of a Russian officer who he was being signaled that nukes were headed to their country. And this actually happened. This is a real story. And he was told to retaliate, to send nukes back to us before they were hit. And he called an audible, and he said, "No, I can't do it. We got to wait and see." And sure enough, they had a malfunction, an equipment malfunction that gave him a false reading. And it was this dude doing what he personally believed was best for everyone that changed the course of history. And I kind of get to that in the script in the global sense, and again, like in the personal sense with the characters.
So regardless of who's giving us the orders, it's up to us to make those decisions and unite on a global scale instead of just like our individual, like, little places that we have going on. Is that kind of the gist of it?
I kind of think, yeah, I think we need to take, I mean, again, this is kind of like the meta message, but I kind of think that we all need to take a little more personal responsibility. But I also believe that there's a lot of power in community,
Oh, yeah.
And when we come together, that makes something better than just any individual.
Absolutely. And we shouldn't be fighting one another. We really shouldn't. I mean, this is all, a problem, reaction, solution. It's kind of like the people funding it. I mean, you got a lot on the line here, but it's like we grew up, and we should know that we shouldn't hate one another, and we should, have that tolerance for one another. But you're right. It's so hard to do, especially if you have let's say, a governing body over giving you the orders. And then I can't even imagine what that would be like to be that, soldier. Hey, here you're trained to take these orders. He's like, no, man, I can't do this. It's not good for everybody.
That's I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Because they talk about like this bystander effect, right? And it's very normal to be like so shocked in the middle of a situation that you kind of just like go along with what you're supposed to do. And it takes a lot of courage and thoughtfulness to take a beat just to think about what's really going on.
Oh, yeah. When stuff happens that quickly, that's how they like to do it. They'll come in and, they catch everybody, and everybody's so caught up in it. Nobody stopped to think, what's going on. If you've had any previous like trauma, that's going to intense. I mean, it's crazy the things that can happen in such a short period of time when you don't pause, stop, think. It's like, man, we got to really strategically move through some of this, especially, if humanity, like I said, is on the line, because I think that we really are right there, Ernie. I think that a lot of what you're writing. So can you kind of tell me too a little bit more about these characters and what struggles? You talked earlier about social media, and I found that really
Yeah.
interesting. I think that this is, I could kind of connect it to a lot of what you were saying.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm glad. And so like the I would say what it's the characters, right? You basically have these two UFO experts from back in the day, and you have this younger man coming up nowadays, right? And he was kind of inspired in part by both of their works. One of the guys like had like this whole there was like a video, like the incident at Lake County. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like this video of this abduction, right? Like that's part of what's going on. And this kid who comes up on social media decides, because his father was involved in the UFO scene back in the day, that he might be able to score some money in the community, whether his story is true or not. Because he needs it for his in the story, he needs it for his father, whose like health is deteriorating. So he finds himself in the middle of a real life alien story because of steps he took based on half truths.
Oh, I see a lot of that in this community. Go on. Yeah. I mean, I tell people, I said, your story is good enough. Because I said to a certain point, it's like, man, when you go in and just, you don't have to outdo the last person. Your story is good enough, because it just really blows everything way out of proportion.
Yeah, but I think that's like only natural, it's like this whole thing, like, I caught a fish this big, and it's like, well, I caught a fish this big, and we've been doing that like we're born storytellers, like humans, and we find these we got a mind that's built for finding patterns. Sometimes they lead to something real, sometimes they don't, and we love to tell a story.
We do. As a therapist, I'll tell you that everybody tells a story. I mean, like we can't, unfortunately, we don't go. We're not ET. We don't record everything in every minute of every second of every day. So it's like, our points are based upon the last. So of course, everybody tells a story. We're triggered on a reward system. Our brain patterns everything out. It gets too close, and boom, it can create all sorts of problems. Our brain can't even distinguish between what it's watching sometimes on a movie and real life. We have that, that emotional intelligence behind it, but it's like that cellular memory kicks in at a certain point, and it's like, everything can kind of go wonky there in a few seconds. But that's interesting and fascinating, all that. So I like that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm loving talking to you. I kind of think it's like like what you were just saying, though, right? That we can't always distinguish between like whether we're watching a movie or whether it's happening in real life. Physiologically, we can't. And I kind of love that about us. I kind of think that's beautiful about us, right? That we're like, we're not just like these cold programs, but we're like these, like, we're these meat puppets, and it's in our little flaws and imperfections that like we find something worth watching.
Oh yeah. And then this human experience, like, that's profound. So what do you think? Do you think this is, I guess, in breaking this down, are we in some sort of like Truman experience? Are we doing like the Matrix here? Is this a simulation? I mean, what do you think is all behind this? Is this like, are we sent here and our memories wiped? And I tell you, I always tell people, if I wake up and when this is done and somebody's like, oh, you successfully completed, planet Earth, I'm not going to be very happy. I'm not going to be very happy.
Oh my goodness. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, right? Like there are these, and that's like you said, like that's actually like a huge fear of mine, right? Like what if this is like, just round one of the simulation, round one of the video game, you pass the next level, it's like,
yeah. You made it past, like, I feel like we're going back to Super Mario Brothers. Like you make it past and you're going to get spit back out, at least at that point. You don't have to go back to, start all over again. But Man.
I think there are layers and there are layers, you know what I mean? And I don't know what those layers are, but I think that there are things that we kind of sometimes touch. And they're like, I don't know, like just beyond, like just barely beyond us. You know what I mean?
Right. So do you think that we're sent here? Do you feel like you have a ET family out there? Or do you think that, we're all humans and some of it, are we the same, source? We're just all plugged into maybe, different outlets, or what do you think about all that? Like our connection between one another?
Okay. So there's this deal called the Fermi's paradox, where it's like, okay, if there are X amount of sustainable planets out there, and blah 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 blah, where are all the aliens? Why aren't there any aliens? Why, or I should say, why can't we observe them more casually? And so that, like, let's say for instance, right? Let's say for instance that there are no aliens. Let's say we're the only species, and if that's the truth, then that's terrifying for one of two reasons, because that means that either probably we were created by some sort of divine being just to be us, or we're probably in a simulation. Both are terrifying to me.
Right. Oh my gosh, when you start talking about that. So I just feel like there's layers. Let's just go down the rabbit hole since we've already started. So do you think that, outer space, have we been to the moon? Is there a moon? Is there planets around us? Are we trapped under a firmament, do you think?
I think that the evidence we have shows that the universe is quite vast, but also it might not even be there at all, and it might just be rendered when someone witnesses it. So, I mean, there's that.
No, you sit with that for a second. I know I've gone down there too. I'm like, man, and then you start looking around outside, and I'm like, okay, did that car just, it's like, can really go down this rabbit hole and see it. And I guess if this is a simulation, I'm going to ask myself, what the hell were you doing? Thinking, I don't understand, but maybe that's like a part of it. If we knew, I don't know, he's kind of like, yeah, whatever is going on here. But this is an awful, like, testing. I mean, we're in some grounds of the humanity that you're tied in here. It's like, you don't get to see a whole lot outside these perimeters. Like, do we have after, it's some of us, that you have those ties, but there's always that shred of doubt. So it's like,
yeah. Okay. So like, that whole thing where it's like, I think, therefore I am, right?
mm-hmm.
Like, I think I'm thinking, but I can't be positive you are. For all I know, you're all a video game. Likewise, from your own mind, you might, like, can you really be sure that I'm not a part of a simulation just here for you? And that's
but there's some, I think that you're onto something, because I think some people are Nicole. The players. I'm Nicole with the H. No, I said I think there's some people that are literally kind of the players in the pawns. Is kind of the way I look at it. There's some people I think that are kind of like not quite attached, and maybe not quite the same, kind of here having their own, maybe like they're the ones that are, that circle your block every time at 5:00 in the afternoon.
No, that's there was a movie. I don't know. I'm probably mixing stuff up, but like I'm thinking of like not just Matrix, but like the Adjustment Bureau, which was like based on this Philip K. Dick book. And then there's like Wrist Cutter's A Love Story, where it's like they're just these beings walking around, and like they kind of like they kind of just like nudge you when they need to get stuff back on track, but like they're not one of us per se.
Kind of there to keep now that's an interesting take. I've always kind of maybe looked at it like, they're here to like, fill in those extra, but you're saying, hey, maybe these are like kind of like the MIB used to be the Men in Black, like they're here kind of just to give you a nudge and keep you on track and make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing while you're here.
Yeah, and you know, who's to say? But I mean, like, I really do feel that, like I said, like layers, like stuff's going on. I can't explain it, but there are a lot of interesting ideas out there.
Absolutely. So do you think, I guess, what's your in your movie? Let's talk about your movie, because
Yeah.
it's probably, walk us through some of the, like, what happens, like the trials and tribulations of, the humanity, and like those, I guess they start off and it's kind of like a Cold War, and they're, the whole nuke thing and shutting it down, and humanity and things like that. We're, stopping ourselves from blowing ourselves up, which is good. That's good. Then kind of, where does it go from there?
What happens is, at least the way I see it, right? Stepping up doesn't just mean let me put it this way, right? I think like there's like a next stage of our evolution, at least in the story I wrote. And in that story, I think the gray men aren't like the final thing, I think they probably like are messengers. They serve like something higher also. And maybe our next step of evolution is like, would be to like match their abilities.
Ooh, so how does AI kind of, until I talked to, I don't know if you're familiar with Mary Rodwell or her work. She works a lot with the ET kids. Now, before really talking to her, I was like, man, we're just, AI has us wiped. There's no way we're going to compete with this. But then when talking to her, she's like, I mean, it puts everything in a different perspective. These kids have the powers and of all AI, and AI is really not, connected in, just kind of some of the intelligence that has maybe not be important to, like, let's say, like, it, on a universal scale or something, I guess in our connection, like our consciousness, I guess, so to speak. So what's your take? Where does AI, and you're saying like these abilities, is it something, I'm assuming there's like some challenges you're talking about, like bottlenecking. Is it kind of like acceptance? Is it kind of, picking up in your mission? I mean, where do you see, because there's a lot, I mean, with humanity, and you're right, you do have the option to stop, pause, and, if you see something, say something and do something. You don't have to just go along with something, you do have that free will.
Well, I think when you mention AI, right, that's really fascinating, right? Because it's starting to outpace us in a lot of ways. And I think there are like certain books, like Asimov talks about merging with basically human beings becoming more like machines, and machines becoming more like human beings, until basically there's no difference. And I thought that was kind of fascinating, because I think we have a lot to offer that can't be replicated, especially in like when we're talking about AI, right? We're talking about, what we're talking about is computers. We're talking about processors. We're talking about things happening in 3 dimensions. But like if you think about like M theory, string theory, they say like they're like 10 dimensions. And I think that just because we're only aware of 3 of them, 4 of them max, that doesn't mean that those are the only dimensions we're occupying. And that doesn't mean that there aren't like things that we are doing in other places that we aren't fully aware of.
Now we just touched on. Have you ever seen the series Counterpart?
I haven't. Tell me about it.
Have to watch it. So it's basically, it's this underneath the world. They find out we have an other. So it's like,
Okay.
if you're here and you break your arm, your other they'll break your other's arm. And like sometimes you're switched out and swapped out. Like, so it's just kind of like, and there's this council, they never see the council, and there's like an underground like way where you can kind of like, that's how they exit and go. So it's kind of that other, I'm like, something about that really kind of hit home and struck home. And when you're talking about that, I'm like, man, what's in our awareness, what's not in our awareness, how much of this is, those coincidences, or we just don't understand it well enough, or, I guess what's your kind of take? Do you think that there's others of us out there? I mean, we kind of, and going into that, what you were talking about before, are we out here and we're just like these small beings in this universe of endlessness? Or are we like the center of the universe and we're here for our own mission and we're way more powerful and we're way, more important than we even realize?
I think the universe could be incredibly vast, infinite even, but that doesn't mean that we're any less important just because we can't like affect everything in the universe. You know what I mean? But also like when you talk about like these other us's and these other like places that we can't like get to but might exist, like I think of this brilliant line from like the last Harry Potter, right? Where he finds himself in the afterlife, or at least he thinks it's the afterlife. And he's talking to this guy and he's asking him, he said, is this real or is this all in my head? And the guy tells him, of course this is all in your head, but why on earth should that mean it's not real?
Ooh. Have you ever seen The Good Place, the TV series?
I have. I love it.
So in going with that one, what do you think? I mean, for the longest time, I couldn't understand my kiddo and just loves to watch the show. So I'm watching it. I'm like the whole time they're in the good place. They're in the good place. And then it takes a swinging turn, and then they're not in the good place at all. They just tell them they're in the good place. They tailor everything to the good place, so they would think that, oh, if I say a bad word, it's gonna bleep it out, but they're really in the bad place.
Yeah. I mean, that's a brilliant way of screwing with someone, and like it's not unlike that old Twilight Zone episode where like the burglar, the bank robber, whatever, he gets shot and he thinks he's in heaven, and like he keeps winning at all the gambling and all the women want him, but whatever, and basically throughout the course of the series he's like, no, you are in the bad place.
Yeah. I kind of feel like right here, like maybe we're here, and they just say, all this stuff that's going on, but maybe I really screwed up in my last place I was at. I don't know, but it really is. It does mess with you a little bit. Like, are they telling us? Are they not telling us? I mean, why are they not telling us?
For sure. And I think I mentioned it briefly earlier, right? But there was this movie called Risk Cutters: A Love Story, and in it, it's basically it's like purgatory. It's like this dude ends up in purgatory after whatever, and basically because of his actions on Earth, purgatory is like exactly like the regular world, but everything's just a little bit worse. It's like they're like no stars in the sky, like you can't smile. It's like the little things. They're like and I found that so fascinating. It's like, wait a minute, am I there?
Oh man, that's so true too. That's so true. And it's like, man, you can't avoid this place. It's like you don't get many options. You come and go. Nobody really knows how you got here. Nobody really knows what happens once you leave here. Your family, they're just like, so there's so many things like on keeping that and being that player in the game, I guess. How and talking about these fascinating things, and you wrote, I mean, your film writer, this is so exciting, some of the stuff that you have done, and too, like, I think that's so profound with your ET contact, so bravo on that. I mean, that's being an influencer and writing like these stories that people can connect to is so important. It's so important for humanity. It really is. So what do you think? I mean, how do you stay motivated in the game and all this? Like, not like, oh man, here we go. Is this like my punishment, or am I doing my term, or what do you think?
I think that like if you go like searching for happiness or pleasure, right? Like if that's all you're doing, you're not going to find it. This is my philosophy. And I think like if you go searching for purpose, finding ways to be like purposeful, you'll probably find happiness eventually. And that's just my 2 cents on that.
So what do you think your purpose is here? Well, where did you find your sense of self?
Two things. I've always wanted to tell stories to people, and I've always wanted to like make a community with my family. And like those two things bring me immense happiness.
That's awesome.
There's this real quick, I kind of want to touch on something if I could.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically, because I'm a madman, I wrote those two scripts in like under a year, and then like I said, okay, but I want to shoot something myself, right? So I for me without studio or whatever, it's much more challenging. So I wanted to do a short, and I wrote this 15-page script, right? And it's like kind of based on the Epic of Gilgamesh, but more like geopolitics that are happening right now. Like this is can I do something really weird with you for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. The weirder
Okay.
the better. Yeah.
Okay. So this is so Gilgamesh is like supposedly this like ancient king, like it's basically like the first or the longest superhero story, if you will, that we have available to us that wasn't like destroyed at some point. It's the oldest superhero story. And there were like 20 years ago, people are like, wow, we think we found like the burial resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, right? Like for reals. This happened in real life. And people are like, oh, whoa. So they start excavating, right? This is in Iraq now. And basically once the news got out, it's like then we waged war on Iraq and we stopped all the excavation. So that's kind of where the story takes off. This short I wrote, right? Where it's like this foreign government is going in there to secure a location. And in it, this soldier gone AWOL is, he's wiped out. It's war. Stuff happens. But he becomes one with like the spirit of the King Gilgamesh, and like he's there to take out tyrants no matter what nation they are to free his people in that land. And that's kind of the short I'm working on right now.
Wow. So you called yourself a madman earlier. Does that mean, or is that kind of like how you kind of see things? Do you take, your own, I'm assuming you live, by example. Are you that person that stands out and stands up?
I'm who stands out and stands up, like
like with humanity, like regardless of what the other people are doing, that necessarily, like you have your own mission. You might not necessarily reveal it to the world on what it is right now, but you're a man running with a mission that's for humanity.
I kind of think when I was younger, and it's natural, like when you're younger, you're like really concerned about what other people think. And now I'm concerned about people, but I'm not concerned about what they think in regards to me. There was someone who said like, what someone else's opinion of me is none of my business. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like people can think whatever they want of me. That's fine. And like, I'm just like, I just kind of like go like a wind up rabbit, like I'm like, get out of my way. I'm doing a thing here.
Like the Tasmanian devil, like out of my way. I'm just going to go through. But that's not a bad way to be. That's not a bad way to be.
It's, I tell you what, it's pretty fun. I'm having a good time.
Heck yeah. And when you can let go of what, and you're right. Cause I always say, like, people don't assume the other person is, they're most likely worried about themselves, just like you are. So when you let go of what other people think and what they, it's like, I always say, like, everybody's, we lie. Everybody's, everything is a lie. Cause we don't remember second by second, minute by minute. But when you can let go of that and you break out into your own, person, that is such a freeing experience. That is such a freeing experience.
Have you ever seen the Animatrix?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So like there's like this one short in the Animatrix about this guy who's like running and he's trying to break a world record, and it's like in doing so he's going faster than a human being should be able to go. So the agents keep trying to stop him and slow him down. And when he breaks free, he finally sees like the truth on the other side. And it's like it was just like that was one of my favorite shorts from that movie. But it's like it makes me think of the 4-minute mile. Like people used to believe it was impossible to run a mile in 4 minutes or under. And then basically like one guy did it once. And then before you know it, a bunch of people started running it in under 4 minutes, even like, high school people. Like,
Yeah.
and all you needed to do was like remove that belief that we weren't supposed to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah, so true too. We lock ourselves in there with those beliefs, and that I say there's believe the lie, there's the lie and the believe, but in order for you to even, I said if we think it, we can believe it, and for it to happen, you do truly have to believe it can happen. They're so powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
I
powerful.
think I think people get caught up a lot in like because like in order to have a society work, they have to give us like rules, like since we're like children, and then we default to that and we think that's the only way to be, but it's not. There was like this scene in the movie Troy, right, where like the ancient warrior Achilles, he's like fighting his cousin and he's training him, he's training the young man. And at some point, Achilles like drops the sword from his hand and he catches it in the other hand and he holds it to his cousin's throat. Again, they're just training. But the cousin said, you told me never to switch hands in mid-fight. And Achilles said, yeah, and when you're ready to fight, you won't have to listen to me anymore.
Isn't that true? And I say the rules are necessarily they're there to keep us in control and in line. Also, it's like their control mechanism. They squeeze us into these places, and some of us don't. But that's for good reason. It's like the free thinkers are gonna break out, and if you don't have some of that there, they're worried about maintaining, I guess, and releasing that narrative and just letting it go running wild. But I guess instinctively, it really comes down to intention, what you're doing and what intention you're doing it with. I've really found.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's like I feel like with it, like whether it be like art or really anything you choose to master, right? Like you have to learn all the rules so that you can learn when to ignore them. Yes. But you can't do it safely until you've mastered all the rules.
Oh, that's so true. Like as a therapist, our first goal was to get in there, and it's like, just to have this conversation and engage somebody. And, they didn't really give us past that step. But then it's like, once you're able to kind of get through that and, then you're not going to go and destroy everybody's brain, like as you're, affecting those chemicals and those brain mapping, then you can kind of like get out of that. But you're right. You have to know it inside and out before you start maneuvering outside of the box. That's good. It's good.
So, can I ask you something?
Sure.
I would be curious as to where I can find more about you on the socials.
On the social, yes. Well, as Anthony had said before, you can find me on Twitter. I'm a Cola UFO. Like Cola UFO is kind of stuck. I say it and I kind of cringe, but that's kind of where it is. But you can find me I'm on every social media platform. I get SNX Radio. I also do just started up True Serum with Rob Khalil from Typical Skeptic Podcast. So yeah, definitely check out some of my work. You, Ernie, can you tell everybody where they can find you also? I think that I'm definitely a fan now. I'm going to be following you closely. So welcome.
Oh man, you know what? You're totally awesome. And I love having this conversation. Yeah. Where you can find me, I spend a lot of time on Instagram, and you can find me at either handle I am Ernie Rivera or the handle Citadel Lost Film. I respond to both like very frequently, and I'm also like if you can check me out on IMDb. I'm Ernie Rivera 1. I think it's like you can get there by going to like imdb.com/. what is it? I don't even know anymore. But yeah, just search for me on IMDb, and then I'm on Instagram a lot.
So where do you prefer people follow you and your work at? Is there like a certain platform that, are you on like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or where do you people are looking and they're like dying to talk to you? Where do they find you?
I'm kind of all over the place. I do have let me see here. So on Facebook, like you can go to facebook.com/Ernie Rivera's page. I got that from like way back in the day. But most of the stuff, if you go on like either X or Instagram or whatever, it's going to be Citadel Lost Film. That's the quickest way to find me. Again, like I'm also on IMDb. You can check me out on the IMDb Pro, and it's got like my emails in there if you need to reach out. Always looking for partnership. That's yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'm just enjoying life out there.
So what other work, I guess, can you give us any sort of teasers on what you got going on or upcoming and the up and coming?
Oh, hey, who's that guy? No.
Hey, he looks really familiar.
Yeah. No, okay, so I did Citadel Lost. I did Gray Man and Rise Again, which is that's the Gilgamesh project I'm working on right now. I'm submitting to a lot of film festivals currently. I'm looking for partnership as far as representation and also producers who want to get together. But let's see what I have going on here. I don't know. I have a bunch of stuff. No, I'm trying to look at these.
Yeah. So if we're looking for producers, if anybody wants to come in and contact Ernie. This has got to be a great film. I mean, really, let's help get it out there and get the word out there.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, this is a really fun time, and I will be checking you out later on. Was it on X or Instagram?
Yeah, X. You can find me at Coley UFO. It's cringeworthy, I know, but it's stuck. So I'm there. I'm okay with it. I was like, but no, definitely on X, and I look forward to it. That's amazing that you're doing all these things, and this isn't an easy topic to really cover, and it's really hard to step outside and own some of this, and you did it tonight, Ernie. You did, and you have my ultimate respect for that. I appreciate that more than you know, because it's not easy to do.
Yeah, this has been a really fun experience. I love talking to you. I love talking to you about all this weird and wild stuff out in the universe. So that's great. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming on, and everybody, and for joining in and tuning in to MK Invasion. This is officially, we've kicked it off every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Central, listen to me, Eastern Standard Time. Join us every week. You can kind of come in here and you're going to have, great topics we're going to throw around and jump down that rabbit hole. So, we just want to thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next Tuesday.
Love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Ernie. Again, I would love to, continue and have a part 2. I mean, you're great. You're absolutely great. I applaud your work and applaud your efforts, and thank you again, because your message is so powerful. It really is. So I appreciate that. I really do. It's not easy. It's not an easy topic.
You've been so awesome, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So I can't end it. I don't know if he said he's popping back up. He's behind the scenes. Anthony, are you coming to rescue?
The man behind the curtain.
I know. The man behind the curtain. Yes. So we're ready for you, Anthony. If you're